know what time it is?
Sometime early Tuesday morning.
Are you ready?
Ready for what?
For a Tuesday morning show.
I was born ready.
But first,
We will need some
coffee.
Coffee?
Coffee!
Can't start the day without that fresh
Cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee. Get it?
Got it.
Get it? Got it.
Good.
Well then.
It's showtime.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Well, moments after we left the air yesterday, the AP Top 25 came out. And man, it looks a lot like the coaches poll. It just doesn't seem like anybody really wants to stray that far. You know, the parallels are obvious. They usually are. And this time it was almost a carbon copy. Ohio State's number 1 in both polls. Oregon's number 2 in both polls. Georgia's number 3 in both polls. Texas Tech is the top Big 12 team in both polls. Texas Tech is 12 in both polls. Now, there's a little difference here in that BYU was tied for 14 with USC in the media poll, but in the coaches poll, SC was 14 and BYU was 15. They weren't tied. It's just not that much. Utah's 21 in both polls. Houston's 23 in one poll, 24 in the other. So there's just not that much different. We could talk about stuff, I guess. I actually thought Paul Feinstein on the SEC honk on ESPN, actually, I got to agree with him. And he said, I'm surprised Oklahoma's 10. I don't think they're a top 10 team. I don't think they'll finish a top 10 team. I'd agree with that. I think looking at Michigan's schedule, which of course I'm looking at because Kyle Whittingham is there and Jay Hill is there and there's half dozen players there and Beck is there. And so you got a lot of local stories and local ties. And looking at a schedule, to me, they've got 4, arguably with Iowa 5, big games. And I think the two that jump out at me as the hardest are Indiana and Oregon. I mean, they got to go to Oregon. I don't see how they're going to do that. I do think Ohio State plays tight in the rivalry game. Ryan Day's coached the team to a national championship. It's not that, he's terrible, but he also doesn't strike me as a guy who always has it buttoned up. And, he coached Ohio State past Utah in the Rose Bowl, but he had an NFL quarterback and Kyle Whittingham didn't. And he had his starting quarterback at the end of the game, and Kyle Whittingham didn't. And he put in a backup, a walk-on who had no experience, and went down the field and scored a touchdown and tied the game with 2 minutes left. Now, why that thing was tied for 58 minutes when Ohio State had NFL wide receivers and Utah did not, when Ohio State had starting defensive backs and Utah was playing running backs at defensive back, Kyle wasn't playing with the same number of cards. And yet somehow the game was tied with 2 minutes ago. Ohio State won it with a late field goal. I think Michigan can get that game. And then also the Oklahoma game. I mean, Oklahoma had a good defense last year. The offense and maybe material will be, better this year and healthier this year. But I don't see it. So I think Michigan's got a great opportunity there. Now, Michigan's got issues themselves at quarterback. So, we'll see how that plays out. Can he run that offense? And Devon Dampier ran it last year. Well, it was Devon Dampier's second year running it. He got to run it a year at New Mexico, then a year at Utah. So, a little different deal. In the media poll, Michigan was 16th. And in the coaches poll, Michigan was 16th. Back to my original point. It's the same over and over. I don't know what to tell you. All right, DJ and PK. We got to get to the Utes now. Some college football. They're up on the hill, meeting with the media. The teams don't meet every day, so we don't have new stuff for you every day. We had Cougar stuff yesterday. We got the Ute stuff today. Hunter Andrews meeting with the media very, very briefly. Here's Hunter Andrews.
Hunter, how are you feeling after missing a lot of last year?
I was pretty upset at first about it, but it feels pretty good to be back. I feel better than I did before, so I'm ready to get back out there.
What does this offense do for you personally?
Just gets the ball to playmakers all around the field. We'll try to get you the ball any way it can, so we have a lot of playmakers out there, so a lot of people touch the ball in this offense.
How do you feel like things are coming along with Coach McGivern? Do you think everybody's grasping the offense well?
Yes, sir, definitely. I think everyone loves him. The offense is easy to pick up, and he's an all-around great guy.
Morgan said there's been a lot of back and forth between the offense and defense. Is that a good thing for you guys? Do you feel like that helps you guys grow as you move into the season?
I think that's great for us. Iron sharpens iron, so think it's great. We're making the defense better. The defense is making us better, definitely.
With that in mind, can you kind of tell us just a little bit about the scrimmage? Like, how good was it just to go out there and let it fly a little bit?
Felt great. I mean, I was ready to play. Been a long time since I've been out there, so it was awesome.
Devon coming back, a leader for this team, especially with a new offense. How helpful has it been to have Devon kind of leading the way for you guys?
Yeah, he's a great leader. Anytime I'm struggling with the plays or anything, he'll help me out, and he just helps us a lot. He's a great leader. So.
All right, there's Hunter Andrews. Here's Solatoa, Moea'i.
Go easy. It's my first time. I've never done this before.
Hard questions.
Sure.
How do you feel like this offensive line is gelling?
I think it's going really good. We have a good leadership under the seniors, Al, Zeraway, Keith. Coach Gross stepped in with Coach Gerke, and they've been really good in getting us to hone in on our technique, our fundamentals, and just work together, work as an offensive unit, all five.
How helpful has it been for a brand new offensive line to have a vet like Devon back there kind of showing you guys what to do?
I mean, Devon makes our job a lot easier, being able to move in space and being smart and helping us with our protections and things like that. And he's really encouraging to us, to the O-line, letting us know that he got us and he needs to get the ball out, and we can do a better job protecting, of course. But it's really great to have that leadership back there.
What impresses you most about the freshman Kelvin Oba?
Oh, Big Kel, yeah. I mean, when I came in with Spencer, and so we came in together, and it's kind of like that same thing, that those big names, big guys who come in early and have to work, and I see a lot of resemblance. He's stepping in, he's learning a lot. His body's really maturing, seeing when he came in, working with Coach Saunders, he got real big. But, I mean, he's really stepping up for us, for sure.
Can you describe Coach Scalley as a head coach?
Oh, Coach Scalley's a man, and I love it. I mean, we never got to see that culture side on the offense. They have like that whole R&B thing, and him being able to bring that to the whole offense or the whole team and learning it is really cool. And he's he's really personable. He comes up to us, he texts us, has some stuff with Hawaii. They got storms going on there. He texted me last night, checking in. So. You get the coach and the human, being there for us. It's really cool.
You put in your dues as an offensive lineman. What's it like to kind of be in that mix now for a starting unit and kind of getting your shot?
Yeah, it feels nice. Those 5 guys last year, they've been there since I was here, and they were dogs. It was nice that I got to play with them and learn from them, but I'm really excited to get out there.
Obviously, you've returned with the most snaps played within the group after last year. Just how have you stepped up as a leader?
I would say I've just been trying to see stuff that I've actually talk about stuff that I've actually seen. As far as I'll be watching them on the side, as far as sets, footwork, and things like that, and I kind of just come off one-on-one to talk to them. Maybe do it like this, do it like that, and yeah.
We've heard a lot about how much the offense and defense is pushing each other. How good is this D, and how nice is it to have a group of guys that is making you better every single day?
Oh, yeah, man. Our D-line is solid. Our linebackers are flying around, Jono and Trey. And it's comforting to know that, we're going against one of the best defenses, in the nation. And it's iron sharpens iron. They're getting us better for sure.
There's Solatoa, Moea'i. Now here's the quarterback, Devon Dampier.
Devon, Morgan said it's been a bit of back and forth between the offense and defense. What's that been like this year, and how good is that? I mean, obviously you want the offense clicking, but how good is that for your team?
Man, I think that's great, honestly. That means that, we're both elevating together. We're both going into film. One side of the ball has a worse day. We're going into film. They're applying it. Same thing as us. If we have a worse day than them, we're applying it. So it's just great to see that, we have a full team. We have a full team where not one side is dominating every day. We have a team that knows how to come back after a bad day. That just shows, adversity, that we have that.
Can you talk to the competitiveness within the defensive sector and what sort of looks they give you in the passing game?
Yeah, man, Swan's trying to make sure I see everything. He's a coach that I get a very few conversations with, just him trying to make me better. But honestly, they're pressuring, they're showing different type of looks, and just everything that makes me a better player. It makes me more aware of any situation. I know what's best for the offense, so what type of checks I need to get into. So he's making me a better quarterback every single day.
Did anything stand out from the scrimmage on Saturday?
Man, I would say that back and forth, honestly. We scored pretty early on a drive, and man, that next drive, we stayed out there and defense shut us out just like that. So just for them to be able to respond every single time, and also we got shut out, then we go back out and, we do our thing. So I'm just happy that we keep continuing to just apply things. We're hearing our coaching points and we're applying it.
Dev, I saw just the other day another award, preseason watch list. I guess, what's it like for you heading into a season with so much, I guess you could say, outside expectations for you?
Man, when football season comes around, I stick to the building. So, whatever's happening inside the facility, that's all I care about at the end of the day.
How's this wide receiver group looking?
Man, they're looking amazing. Man, we talk about depth. Man, the ones, the twos, and then we got even threes starting to step up and making a fight to get on the field. So just to have that many players, I feel confident whoever's in there. Honestly, whatever receiver group's in there with me, I believe they're all going to make plays. So that's a great feeling for a quarterback to have out there.
Devon, what have you seen from the offensive line? Obviously, you're replacing 5 starters from last year. Just what has your look of it been? Obviously, you're behind them all the time.
Yeah.
Just walk us through that.
Yeah. Chemistry and toughness is what I've seen. For one, we had a full starting group last year, so for all of them to get in here, they're a little nervous. I feel like they weren't fully themselves, starting off spring ball, and just the chemistry they were able to build during the summer, and especially, again, that toughness, that confidence that, I am the guy now. This is our 5. This is who's going to be out here. You can just tell that, they're embracing it. They're happy. They're clicking a lot better. They're able to make calls, and, just confidence.
What do you see more here? Has anybody stuck out to you on that offensive line?
Big Al manages a lot being the center. It takes a lot to find a way to make all 5 of those guys work together. That's a huge role for a center to have, and, he's doing a great job of it.
There's Utah quarterback Devon Dampier. Now here's the head coach, Morgan Scalley.
Good. You're getting into the dog days of fall camp. It's easy to have energy on day one, easy to be excited on day one. It's having that same energy throughout. Really good practice today, competitive. We're becoming better, situational mechanics, and it's good that it's competitive right now, that you don't have one side dominating the other. And I think the coaches are doing a good job of keeping our guys fresh, but understanding we got to be physical.
Coach, offensive line was a big priority coming into camp. Do you feel like you've got this down to 2 or 3 combinations you feel good about?
Not yet. We're still a couple of bumps and bruises that shifts things around, but we'll have our dudes by game 1.
Where does Obot fit into that?
He's looking really good, but he understands the stuff he needs to work on, and no spots are solidified right now.
You guys had a scrimmage on Saturday. What stood out from that, first scrimmage?
I would say the play of Matiaki Helu showed up in a big way. Lance Holtzclaw off the edge, making a bunch of plays, receivers downfield. So there's a lot of good stuff. I thought the situational mechanics, like I said, that's one thing that, at the beginning of camp, not clean enough, not fast enough, but much better. I'd say red zone work, kind of a mixed bag. We need to be more efficient, not enough touchdowns in the red zone, too many field goals. Having said that, the kicking game's really good. Kicking game is really good. Love our 2 kickers, and obviously Orion's been established as a punter, but both Dylan and Tanner are doing a nice job.
Morgan, obviously the offensive line has been a question mark for you guys. Just what else do you want to see out of them as fall camp progresses?
I would say I think we've gotten to the point where we're physical enough. The pre-snap penalties are being cut down. Just continued progress. There's not one glaring thing where I'm sitting there saying, like, we're deficient here. It's just maybe a little bit cleaner in the things that we're doing, from protection to taking on slanters. So, and they've got, one of the best teachers I know in Jordan Gross. So, I'm excited for that group and what they're going to show that first game.
How does the defense look right now?
Defense looks good. We're solidifying that, the D tackle spot. Same thing on offense. You get these bumps and bruises, guys, having to be out of practice or 2. So still that's up for grabs as well. Getting Carson Kafusi back and, mixing in some guys. So that's unsettled right now.
Are you still exploring bringing back into Kawhi Rogers or any other class of 22 guys, or do you feel like this roster's set?
We feel pretty good right now.
This time last week, you talked about tensions being kind of high between the offense and the defense, and maybe even want them to cool down a little bit. What is the process like, and how neat is it to watch a team become a team when they stop competing with each other and start, jumping on the same page?
Oh, I think we have it now, and I wouldn't say, you have to be competitive without being combative. It's the stuff that's going to get you penalized, the extra shoves and stuff like that, and so there is a fine line, but our guys do a really good job of making sure that we don't take it to that next level where all of a sudden there's stupid penalties, and I would say it's really not an issue, and this is a very close team. I'm excited.
Mark, it seems like you've made a pretty intentional effort to invite former players back into the program, have them watch practice. Why is that important for you?
Why is it important to have alumni around? Well, man, they bled and sweat, and they love this program, and they want to know that there's a legacy there. That our current players didn't build this building. Our current players are building their own legacy. So there's a lot of guys with a lot of passion for this program. The way it's been run, the family atmosphere, they need to know that continues.
You talked about, obviously, the offensive and defensive line. There's still positions up for grabs. Mm-hmm. How about the depth and your pecking order at wide receiver, corner, some of those other positions?
Just lovely. We got good ones. I'm not going to tell you what that depth is, but we got good depth, and do your fantasy draft or whatever. That we got really good ones. I'm excited for that group both, and that's another group that traditionally they're sitting there in their fights every day with the wide receivers and DBs. They do a really good job of pushing each other, but knowing that we got to get to the party healthy.
All right, there is Morgan Scalley. We got more football coming up. Josh Furlong on the Utes on his vote in the top 25 poll. We'll get to that coming up. Also, PK found a quote. Max Kellerman, longtime national media figure, was at ESPN for a long time, although they let him go. He had an interesting quote on LeBron and involved Karl Malone, and we'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Best thing that's ever happened to you financially. Go.
Easy. Sold my car on Carvana. Amazing offer.
Really? I hit 200 on the scratcher.
Did the scratcher come to your house and hand you a check?
No.
How many scratchers did you hit to get that? I hit a button on Carvana.com once.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like the lottery, except you always win.
Not like the lottery at all, actually.
Exactly. Inexplicably good. Offers worth bragging about. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. PK, you got a quote. I guess people have to say things, but that doesn't mean we have to believe them.
No, not at all. I come across this. Max Kellerman. Oh, Max. Pushing LeBron James over Karl Malone. Okay, we can live with that. But what he says, this particular sentence, complete and disrespect. Total disrespect. I missed out the word total. For letter carrier. Says, LeBron James' past year in the playoffs at 41 years old was better than Karl Malone ever was a day in his life in the NBA. A day.
Come on, man.
A day.
If I had to pick one, and I'll even go to late in his career, like LeBron. Late in his career, Karl would have been 36 when he had his 50-point playoff game against the Seattle Supersonics. It's pretty good that day. 50 at the age of 36. Come on.
Well, yeah, 36. Wow. 26.
Yeah, right. But still, he was past the 2 MVP awards. The thing about Karl, and clearly Max is calling up, there were elimination games and 3 for 17, and you can point at games in Portland and Houston and wherever else. He wasn't good.
He had his disappointments.
Right. No but also, there were times that he looked at Hall of Famers and he completely owned them. dominating San Antonio and David Robinson. And 1 year, Tim Duncan. I mean, their careers barely overlapped. And Shaq. He had there was a series hanging in the balance in 97. It's 2-1. They're in L.A. for Game 4. Malone goes off for 37. I think he had 17 straight free throws in the game or something ridiculous like that. He was completely locked in. It's just money. So stop with that.
1989-90, and I've got his stats here. He averaged 38 minutes a game. And how many games did he play?
My guess is the number is going to be 82.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Right.
Educated guess.
And he averaged 31 right on the button and 11.1 boards. And 2.8 assists. Yeah. And even a steal and a half. Now, he wasn't a high flyer, so he didn't have block shots weren't really his thing. Shot 56% from the field.
Yeah.
56%.
Yeah, a little over the top. I mean, I get Max's point. LeBron was great in that, that the Lakers, that shorthanded, won a playoff series, and Houston had their problems. We've talked about this before. You pointed that out. Houston was a flawed team. They had a massive injury of their own early in the year. So, but nonetheless, for LeBron to lead them to a playoff series win at that point in his career, that's phenomenal. I mean, I don't know what more you expected out of the guy.
For his career, he averaged 37 minutes a game.
Sweet. No one's coming near that.
Multiple times, he averaged 40 minutes a game.
Oh, really? How many would that be early? Because I don't think he was doing that by the time we got here. But we got here halfway through his career.
Yes.
Oh, really? He did?
The first year.
Okay.
93-94. Played all 82. Mm-hmm. 40 and a half minutes a game.
Wow.
25 and 11 and a half. Come on.
Eaton, that was year Mark Eaton's back, forced him into retirement, and they basically played without a center that year. So Karl probably had to play bigger minutes as they tried to ham and egg it through the season without a center.
90-91, he averaged 40. So twice he averaged 40 minutes a game.
That's staggering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is staggering.
Yeah, he had a million failures, whatever. That's part of the story. But also part of the story is the stuff I've just been saying.
Yep.
You can't just go to one part of the story. You got to, with him, and he's as complex a superstar as there's ever been. And he's got all sorts of personal issues, and that's part of the story, too. I don't have any problem discussing any of that. I was part of the Tribune at the time when we were writing stories that were not very complimentary. And I was on that. And I did stuff. I wasn't the lead person, but I did stuff. And then you got missing foul shots in the playoff, blah, blah, blah. That's part of the story, too. Okay, fine. But also, this is part of the story. If you're going to tell the story, that's it. That's the story. Or do you want to just tell part of the story, or you want to tell the story?
Well, it depends who you are.
Well, but see,
but
if you tell the story...
I get your point.
That includes everything. But if you want to tell part of the story, then you got to tell us this is part of the story. You see the difference?
I do.
Yeah. So you got to tell... If you just want to tell part of it, so be it. But if you want to tell the story, you got to tell the other stuff that I just mentioned here. You cannot overlook that. That's why you're telling part of the story, because there was that other stuff on the floor. If he was Olden Polynice, just to pick a name, we wouldn't be talking about him.
That was exactly the point. There's no way that would be who Max referenced.
Right.
He referenced them because there were all these positives.
Right.
But he clearly thinks the negatives were underreported.
At 41, LeBron, no. LeBron overall, yes. 41, no.
When we come back, Josh Furlong talking top 25. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 KSL Sports Zone. Josh Furlong joined us during yesterday's show because he's a top 25 AP voter. And, of course, the poll wasn't out at that point. But we wanted to talk to him more about what he did, why he did it, the reaction he gets to that. Here's Josh Furlong with PK and I on the Zone. I'm wondering if you're doing well, Furlong, though. The top 25 poll comes out.
Not for Furlong.
Then, nice. Then everybody analyzes how the 65 voters rank teams, and then the hardcore at University of fill in the blank begin to search people out and harass them. You got any good stories about people going at you for the way you voted?
Oh, yeah. I mean, every year there's something. I don't know that I have one in particular. I mean, but you get people, even yesterday, that were pretty upset with, how I've put the people. Obviously I have a Big Ten and SEC bias, or I'm not ranking the local teams high enough. It's the same every year, but you just kind of roll with it. I mean, sometimes it gets a little personal. Other times you just have to get off social media.
Yeah, there you go.
Gosh, I hate your ballots. They're always so one-sided, favoring the Big Ten and the SEC and Notre Dame, while always dismissing BYU. Not saying BYU should be number one, but you of all people should be more bullish on the local teams. Now, that isn't me talking. That is somebody else, and that's what you're referring to, I assume.
Exactly. It's the same argument every year, and it's fine, right? I mean, that's the hard part, right? Is like, obviously I do have more insight on the local teams, and so there's one hand where you can praise them and you can lift them up a little bit, and then on the other hand you see their warts and you see what's going on with them a little bit more than maybe other teams. And so I think it's a tough task to be able to kind of balance those things and try to say, okay, am I judging them too harshly compared to everybody else? But it's the nature of it. It's a preseason poll. Like it's just a snapshot in time, and it's not anything too serious.
Every year people look for the team that in the top 25 completely falls apart. And last year, number 2, number 4, number 9, Penn State, Clemson, and LSU. LSU fires their coach. Penn State fires their coach in October because of a 3-game losing streak. Pretty dramatic. Is there anybody you put in the top 10 and think, well, based on who they have back, I need to put them here, but I totally realize the bottom could fall out?
I mean, that could be any team, right? Like, because last year I had Penn State number 1. So it's like, I don't know that you expect your number 1 team to drop out of the poll completely, fire its coach, do that kind of stuff. So it's tough to predict, but I mean, there's different things where they have to hit, right? Like, I think Notre Dame is an easy one for everybody to kind of latch onto. With that said, they have a pretty weak schedule. So it's like, if you can't get it done there, then the bottom really does drop out for you. But I think they're the team that many expect to probably not be among the top 5 that I have in there. I have them currently rated number 4. I think there's a lot riding on this season for CJ Carr. Can he be the quarterback that they need him to be? What can they do? There's a team like Ole Miss where, Trinidad Chambliss is coming in for another season, coming off a hot season last year with Lane Kiffin. Now he has to do it under a new head coach. Does Ole Miss have what it takes to be able to be that team? I don't know. That's, on paper, it looks good. They've got a lot of returners. They've got a lot of talent. Pete Golding is a great head coach. At least we assume so from an SEC level. But I think there's teams like that they could fall. I imagine Ohio State and Oregon, Miami, those types of teams will probably be at the top still. But, anything's, crazy in this sport. And that's what's great about it is you get to be able to watch these games. You get to be able to enjoy it. That doesn't invalidate these preseason polls. It's really just a snapshot in time. That's what I try to remind people. It's a snapshot in time where, you're looking and you're saying, okay, here's the teams where we think they're going to be. And obviously that gets changed every single week.
Big 12-wise, we've got Texas Tech at 10, which you should say you have. BYU 16, Utah 20, and then rounding it out with Houston at 25. Give us your thoughts as to what went into that.
Yeah, Texas Tech, I mean, they return a lot of talent, plus they just continue to stock up in the transfer portal. So there's a good reason for them to be at the top. If there is a team that I think could potentially drop it, maybe Texas Tech. We don't know what's going to happen at quarterback, right? Will Hammond is expected to be the starting QB, but we don't really know if he's going to be ready. We don't know if they're going to have what they need to at the time. Their schedule's soft enough that it probably helps them, but they may not be the same juggernaut that they were last year. I think there's a lot of people that expect BYU to be that team, and, for good reason. They return a lot of their talent from last year. Bear Bachmeier's coming into a second season where he's got a lot more experience. Obviously, there's questions on the defensive side in terms of, can Kelly Papinga continue what Jay Hill did? They're not going to change much, but at the same time, there's going to be some changes there. Do they have a wide receiver that can really kind of spread the field for them? What's going to happen there? So that's why I put them a tiny bit lower. I still think BYU is probably near the top there, but at the same time, there's some questions they need to prove as well. And then Utah, obviously that's a team that has a ton of questions, but I think there's potential there coming off an 11-2 season where you have Devon Dampier, you have, Wayshawn Parker, you have potentially the best wide receiver corps that they've ever had there, mix in with a defense that for the most part rebuilds every single year. There's belief that they can do it. That's why I have them at 20. I want them to be able to show that they can do a little bit more, but at the same time, validate that they can be good enough. And then Houston, Houston's one where I toyed with either them or Arizona. I think Houston has probably a little bit more of an edge right now. They've got a lot of returning talent as well, but at the same time, they haven't been able to really sustain it a ton, and their schedule wasn't as challenging last year, and they still weren't able to do it as well. So, Houston, Arizona, maybe even Kansas State probably could fit in that same 25 spot. I think there is at least one other Big 12 team in there, but I chose Houston just because Connor Wegman's back. He's a returning, you could put Arizona there with Noah Fafita, but I think Houston has a little bit more of an edge right there right now.
You mentioned Wayshawn Parker, and he had to split time early in the season. It was amazing to me how little he got the ball until the last 5 or 6 games of the year when his numbers exploded. Does he get the ball? Does he get 15 to 20 carries a game this year? Or is McGivern going to throw the ball more, so even if he's the featured back, there aren't going to be as many carries to be had?
Yeah, I think that'll probably be more telling based on this offensive line. I think if that offensive line can establish a good run game, then I think Wayshawn will be a big focus of that in terms of, like you said, 15 to 20 carries a game. But I think they're going to try to involve him more in the passing game as well. There's going to be a lot more, short passes, intermediate passes, behind the line of scrimmage passes for Wayshawn. But I think all in all, he's going to be much more of a focus than he ever was. I don't think Utah's going to abandon the run, right? Like, this isn't Kevin McGivern coming in here and suddenly Utah is operating air raid offense. This is going to be balanced in the sense that he feels like he wants to have a balance toward his playmakers, right? That's going to be Wayshawn Parker. That's going to be Braden Pagan. That's going to be a whole host of other players. And so I think whoever has the hot hand, so to speak, is going to be able to get that. So there may be some games where Wayshawn isn't utilized that much. Maybe he's 10 carries a game. And another, I feel like they're going to be able to utilize him 15, 20 carries a game. But even then, even though he's quote-unquote RB1, I don't know that it's the same as years past where there's this quote-unquote bell cow back, right? Like, I don't think teams are focusing in on that as much. It's much more spread the ball around. You've got a lot of guys, Hunter Andrews, you got Nate Johnson, Bird Ficklin for that matter, who are going to be able to get in there and factor into the run game, passing game, all kinds of stuff. So, I think it's got to be a shift in mindset in terms of how Utah approaches this. Wayshawn is still the lead guy, and he's going to get the bulk of those carries, but I think it's going to vary on a game-to-game basis.
Your top 5, starting with number 1 and going through down to 5, Ohio State, number 1, Oregon, in number 2, Miami 3, Notre Dame 4, Georgia 5. And then you got Texas at 6. A lot of people think that Texas might be the favorite this year. And so from that perspective, that's probably a little low. What is your thought process there?
Yeah, I think, they have a few returners, but they are rebuilding, a fair amount of their team. If I'm right, let me just verify that I had it. But 2 of their top 3 wide receivers transferred out, and they do bring in some talent through the transfer portal and get the number 1 wide receiver from the portal class. So, there's talent in there, but I think from where they're at and where Georgia's at, it's slim, but I think Georgia has a little bit more consistency. They have a returning quarterback who has been a little bit more successful. Obviously, Arch Manning can be a very solid quarterback, and that's the belief, especially as he started to develop as the season went on. But I think there's a little bit more of the pieces around them on the offensive side of the ball that are of a question as compared to Georgia. Now, Georgia isn't perfect, right? Last year, they weren't a perfect team and still somehow ended up winning the SEC. So it's fractions, right? Quite honestly, I even think Oklahoma could be above Texas to some extent. I think they're all kind of lumped in there right in that bunch where, if John Mateer looks like the John Mateer from the beginning of the season before his hand injury, this could be a different game for Oklahoma. So I think there's just these little nuances there. I think Texas is a really solid team. Steve Sarkisian is going to be another great head coach this year. It's just going to matter on who emerges from that. And obviously they've got the talent, they've got, the transfer portals that come in. It just is going to depend on who kind of separates themselves from that. And right now I just give Georgia the nod because they are the defending champions. They have a little bit more consistency. And, that's just kind of the nature of what it's been in the SEC for the last few years.
Anyone who's listened to this show know there's two teams that PK loves to loathe. Ohio State, who you ranked 1, and Oregon, who you ranked 2. Oregon's only losses in the last 2 years have only lost 3 games, and they've been to the teams that have won the title. What's separating them from kicking the door in? And it looks like you've got them losing one more time, getting frustratingly close and coming up short again.
Yeah, I think Oregon is a very interesting team, right? Because they clearly have the pieces to be able to do what they need to win a national title. But for whatever reason, they haven't been able to close the gap. Now, I think the fact that they have Dante Moore coming back, they have probably one of the best wide receiver corps in the entire country. They've got a solid defense. There's so many reasons to believe in Oregon. But it's one of those things where, I rode with Oregon the entire time that they were the number 1 team, right? Like they clearly were the number 1 team, but they weren't able to get it done in the playoffs. And granted, you can argue the playoff system really messed them up and it wasn't a great system for them. But I think they just, for whatever reason, haven't taken that next step. Ohio State is obviously a little bit more consistent. They're bringing in Julian Sayin. They've got their star running back coming back. They've got obviously Jeremiah Smith. They've got a lot of the consistency there. They've got a lot of the defensive mindset that's still there. They've also won a national championship in the last couple of years. So to me, that's what gives me the edge there. I honestly think there's such a fine gap between these two teams. I think Oregon probably has the best overall team, but Ohio State has the more consistency and the ability to be able to get to the finish line because that's what they've done. So it's 1A, 1B in my opinion. You could rank Oregon and I wouldn't be upset at number 1. But at the same time, I think I'm going to go with the team that has had more success recently, even though Oregon is definitely right there with them.
We had on Tim Brando the other day, and he was saying he didn't think it was going to go well for Michigan. And then we had the beat writer for the Detroit News who's been doing it since 1992, so she certainly knows what she's talking about. And she was looking at possibly as an 8-4. You've got the Wolverines at 17, and obviously they've become somewhat of a local story with all the connections. We know all that. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think, fair or unfair, the season is going to ride on Bryce Underwood. And I don't know that what we've heard from camp / what we saw last year is a huge indicator that they're going to have a ton of success. Now, with that said, I think they have a lot of great talent coming back. Kyle obviously is a great head coach and he can maximize a lot of that talent, but we're going to have to see it all come together, right? Like I think Michigan has all the capabilities in the world to be a top 25 team, top 15 team, win a national championship like we saw a few years ago, but it's all got to come together. And so for that reason, I'm not so high on Michigan in the sense that I think they can do it like some of these other teams. I really do think it just comes down to Bryce Underwood. And, I don't know that that's fair, but I think if they can't get a great, passing game or a great, consistency in quarterback, that's going to be a really tough situation. And quite honestly, years of experience watching Kyle operate with his quarterbacks, I don't know that he's going to necessarily take that next step, right? Like Kyle had good quarterbacks, but there wasn't this huge glow up, so to speak, from one year to the next. And I think that's going to be the same thing with Bryce Underwood. I don't know that there's going to be this huge glow up. Now, with that said, Jason Beck is a solid offensive coordinator. You obviously saw what he did with Devon Dampier, but I don't even know that Bryce Underwood is to Devon Dampier's level yet, simply because he hasn't proven it. Now,
right.
5-star talent, right?
Yeah.
There's potential there, but I don't know that he's lived up to that billing yet.
No, not yet.
Can they get away with him not throwing the ball much because he's such a brilliant runner? Or does that just make him too one-dimensional?
I feel like that makes him too one-dimensional, right? Like we've seen this time and time again under a Kyle Whittingham system where when you become too one-dimensional, it may work for a bit, but it becomes a challenge. Now with you say that, and then I can sit here and say Utah, broke an all-time record of rushing. And so they were more one-dimensional, but I think they had enough variance in there that they could do it. But I think it becomes so much more harder to do that. And if they can't figure that out, I don't know that it's going to go well for them.
I think part of the strength of the Big 12 is when you get down to teams 6, 7, maybe 8. I don't know how far you want to go, but you can make a point that there's some pretty decent teams in the middle of the league, and we already talked about how you've got 4 ranked, and then you also have in your consideration, now you just have it alphabetically, you have the Cats, who you've already mentioned, the Sun Devils, and Kansas State and TCU. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. So you're looking, there you go. So you got basically half the league, which do you feel like could at least deserve consideration? I really think that that's the strength of the league, and I think that you're reflecting in that in your poll. Give us your thoughts as far as including these other teams and the strength of the league being actually in its depth, where you can consider half the teams then to possibly be ranked and at least be in contention as we get into late October and November.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a strength in the sense that there is a lot of teams that can vie for those spots, right? But I think as part of that, it becomes a challenge in terms of being able to have one dominant team where the national media can focus on, right? The Big 12 is not going to get the same spotlight that the Big 10 and the SEC are going to get. And so when you have a lot of these teams beating each other up, I think it just kind of dilutes that market, and it doesn't help national perspective on what the Big 12 can be. That's why a Texas Tech, a BYU, a Utah emerging as the dominant team year over year is going to help this conference. And I know that's not easy. And even Brett Yormark admitted that 2 years ago in his media days, address. He sees that there has to be some sort of emergence from one of these teams to make it work. So, whether it's Arizona State, Kansas State, or TCU in that mix, that's great for the conference in terms of parity and trying to be able to make a great conference where you can't guarantee wins, but at the same time, you're never going to be able to compete with these top programs because they're never going to look at you that way, because any given week, all of a sudden Arizona goes and beats BYU this week. That's not a great system. It's fun football, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's not great for the landscape of the Big 12 because they've got to try to vie for every little spot that they can. And that's why I think you saw BYU not make it into the playoffs last year, is because there's just so much parity there where it was easier to say, well, this conference, it can go any one of two ways. Plus, they lost to Texas Tech twice, in that season. There was no differentiator there, and so it's easy for them to overlook the Big 12.
You hedged your bets there with Houston. Are you just scared that it was so many close wins last year that the law of averages has just got to bite them?
I think so. I mean, like I said, I've got them at 25. I don't know that that's probably going to be sustained. I think a team like Arizona is probably better suited to get there, but I think Houston felt like a really good team at the end of the season. They're still holding over a lot of the same roster that it can get there. But if there's a team of that forward to kind of drop back, I honestly think it could be Houston. I don't trust Kansas State fully. So to me, it's Arizona State. Arizona State, I know PK loves his alum, but I don't know that there's too many questions there, right? I don't know what Arizona State's going to look like this
transfers.
Year, right? Exactly. Like Sam Leavitt last year coming back, there was a lot to believe in Arizona State. I just don't know that we have those same answers here. But I think that group of 4 right there, group of 5, I think there's so many more questions than the 3 above them. Utah has a ton of questions, but I think there's been more consistency over the last few years to help them that kind of emerges from that other group. So, it could be Houston, like I said, it could be Arizona. It's a coin flip in a lot of respects on who could be that last team in.
So because of the depth, which can work against you as far as the 1 or 2 great teams, probably you're looking at only one team from the Big 12 getting in the playoff?
That would be my assumption. I mean, barring 2 of these teams really kind of separating themselves and just dominating the entire season, which could happen. I mean, Texas Tech has a really weak schedule. BYU and Utah don't have hard schedules. They're biggest differentiator is probably themselves playing each other, I should say. BYU does have to play Notre Dame, so that's a challenge there. But, I think you're going to have 2 teams that are dominant the entire season and really just kind of blow people away. And even then it may not work like you saw with BYU last year. So to me, the Big 12 is still a one bid league until they can prove it otherwise. And I think, until that happens, that's always what it's going to be.
Well, I'm going to use my burner account to send you an email right now because I just don't like your
Do
attitude.
it.
You suck, Josh.
I'm the worst. I should be fired. I'm the worst balloter ever. How did they give it to me?
You clearly don't know anything about football.
Nope, none of it.
All right. Well, good luck with all the fun, hate, social media and email and whatever else you get, Josh. And you just do this job for the money, right? I mean, they're paying voters a ton of cash. Not like back in the day when PK had to do it for free.
I got $0.
I'm rolling in cars and watches and everything. You know, they're just loading me.
Yeah, right. All right, Josh. We appreciate it. Thanks. We'll see you up at a practice sometime. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
There's Josh Furlong. He covers the Utes. He's up there for all of Morgan Scalley's press conferences, media availabilities, covering the team. You can follow him at KSLSports.com and the KSL Sports app. You miss those days as a voter?
No.
It was fun. You said you did it, and then you moved on.
You summed it up exactly.
There it is.
Yeah, my exact feelings when I first got to do it and everything was fresh and new. Yeah, it was awesome. But after a while, you're traveling and you got to have the thing up. It's actually easier to do the preseason one because you got all this time.
Right.
But in the season, most of these people are on the road or at home, and football Saturdays for us are long days. And
you have to be doing multiple things at the same time, and you just can't be.
Right. And so you're trying to follow all these teams, and then you got to have it by like 8 o'clock the next morning or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're and especially in the West Coast here, or the west part of the United States, we're doing these things, these late games and all this stuff. And it became too much after a while for too little pay, which is zero.
Zero. Yeah.
And so let somebody else have it. So yeah, I had my time doing that stuff and all that. The one thing I have kept is the Wooden, because of my respect for John Wooden.
Right. And it's not the weekly grind in the same way.
No, it's not.
It's a totally different beast.
It's 1,000 times easier. Yeah.
There's Josh Furlong. You can read him and watch him at KSLSports.com. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.